The beauty of this place is the simplicity, nature at its best, the calmness, the energy that it gives people.
It all began as a holiday home, and we share this with friends and family that enjoy the lifestyle here so much that they didn't want to leave. And this inspired us to open a guest house. As a previous nomad with eclectic taste, I have collected pieces from all over the globe, from different countries that we've lived in, and I've placed it all here in an harmonious way. Living here inspires me, and I love being surrounded by nature. It inspires my paintings. Most of the paintings that decorate the rooms have been painted here.
Big change for me to come from the corporate world to live in the country, but I think it was a natural evolution for me. I was always a country boy at heart. I've lived and worked in 5 countries. I've travelled to, I think, 68 countries, last count. So being here in Portugal now, I bring those experiences with me. Gisela, our daughter, is very integral and really important to everything we do here, as it's a family-run operation. She's an incredible pâtissière. She makes the cakes, she makes desserts, and which our guests always love. She's very special.
Preparing and making beautiful meals start by knowing where your food comes from. And we live in a beautiful part of Portugal where we still have the luxury where food is grown organically and made in traditional ways. I personally love to know exactly who my producers are. And for instance, our cheese is made by our neighbor using her goat's milk and made traditionally with a lot of love, which we serve for our breakfasts.
When I plant the vegetables and I see the vegetables grow and I'm able to, cut them, pick them, dig them up, take them to the kitchen, cook with my wife or with the chefs, and then serve it on a table, it's so rewarding, and you see the faces of the people when they eat the food. Working in boardrooms around the world and offices all over the world, to having an organic vegetable garden, looking after guests, making them feel at home, is to me much more fulfilling, and it's the realization of a dream.
One of life's simple pleasures is enjoying surprises, and I love surprising our guests with small little details. Our concept is about creating a guest experience. So one of the challenges that I really enjoy is by connecting with the guest and figuring out what they would like before they even arrived. I love setting the table depending on the occasion, depending on the guest, choosing the napkins, choosing the runner, choosing the candles for the table, and all those little things add to the experience.
Part of this job that I love is talking to our guests. It feels like we travel. They come from all over the world, and they're well-traveled people, and it's really important to me and to us to hear their feedback, to get better and better. We always want to improve our guest experience.
We don't just offer a service, we are truly willing to serve, and this is true hospitality for me.
Paraiso Escondido is all about sharing. It's all about enjoyment. It's about relaxing, getting off the grid, and really being at one with yourself.
Hi, I'm Berny. I'm here in my nature's cathedral. It has taken a lot to build this project from ground zero up. It took vision, effort, and endurance, but I am living my dream. And part of this dream is to help people to reconnect with themselves. And I believe that nature helps this process. I have become fascinated with the trees that grow on our property, 3 in particular, which I want to share with you in just a few minutes.
So,
Welcome. I'm going to start initially with the eucalyptus trees because they cover majority of our property. We've got 20 acres and we're surrounded by pure nature. Our closest neighbor is quite far away, so it is a privilege. And I feel that we've had this project for 18 years, but living here, we've only been living here since we opened as a guest house in 2014. So in 2014 we opened as a guest house. So I've been living here in this isolation, which I feel it has always been a dream for me to live here. So every day I feel really, really grateful to be surrounded by this beautiful nature all the time. So, but like you're now experiencing isolation. I've been slowly but surely adapting to this lifestyle of being isolated. And within that, I've learned the pros and cons of that isolation, taking the good and the bad. And it's allowed me to incorporate something that I'm going to pass on to you about looking into self-healing, because we can't all depend on the wonderful therapists that are out there, because especially now they for various reasons, because you're isolated, and also for financial purposes or for practical purposes from your busy lives. So the practice of self-healing goes back thousands of years, from the Ayurvedic teachings, from the old Chinese medicine. So all these ancient remedies always talk about self-healing. So when we go and engage into self-healing, and that's what I did, I looked into everything that was around me first, to allow me to be aware of my surroundings, to respect whatever was around me. And this is what I practice every day. So everything that was built around what I had. I didn't arrive and just initially, I wanted to build this or that. It was always feeling, sensing what I could and couldn't do. And I think that is the harmony that people feel when they're here, because there is that a huge amount of respect. But with the eucalyptus, when I started looking into it, they have a very bad reputation in Portugal due to the fires, because they've been overgrown so much. And so people have lost connection with these beautiful trees. And for me, when I bought the land, I too thought, well, they're not indigenous to Portugal. I should actually really think about cutting them and replanting local trees. But then I thought, well, as a matter of fact, the trees were here before me when I bought the land. So who do I think I am by just coming in and just taking all the trees and planting whatever I thought? If they were here first, they were here for a reason. So I started looking into it. And my husband Glenn comes from Australia. So I thought, oh, there's an interesting connection. What takes me to Australia? So I looked into the Aborigines, and then I realized that, the eucalyptus go back, millions of years, 60 million years. And for this reason, the Aborigines believe that these are holy trees. They use various parts of the eucalyptus for their various treatments and therapies. And from a spiritual perspective, it has a purifying effect. They burn the leaves to cleanse of negative energy. And they use both the leaves and the bark for their various healing therapies. But what I've found really interesting, and I think it is because of the fact that they are so old. I mean, there's fossil discoveries in Patagonia of eucalyptus trees, is the fact that they've been around for so long. There must be something more to them, and they believe is that they are because of they are prehistoric, that they hold our DNA. So all the living knowledge, they hold all that information. So the closer we are to the eucalyptus trees, the closer we are to our essence, to our truth. And even before I found out about this, whenever I was having a creative block, I would walk around in the forest and I would sit there and breathe and just be still, not think of anything. And this would give me a huge amount of clarity and calmness and
I would just come back, into whatever I was doing, whether I was creating a menu, whether I was creating a blockage on a painting that I was doing that it just wasn't flowing. Suddenly there was just this clarity, this calmness, and then I found out that actually that's exactly what it does. It stimulates, especially for mindfulness. So when I built the bungalows on stilts in the forest, it was actually with that intention, so people could actually have a direct plug-in free of charge. Nature doesn't send you an invoice when you check out. It's just you can plug in for as long as you want. And I've noticed that guests that are not connected or not so into energies or not so spiritually minded, I never say anything, I never part anything until I feel and I sense that they are. But I'm always surprised by the feedback of what they say when they're here, and all the little things that they notice. And I realize that nature does all this for us at our own pace, without me having to force it on them, without me having to say, oh, this is fantastic, or you should do this, you should do that. So what I thought is, how can I bring this magic of these eucalyptus trees back into your home, from my home to your home? And the best that I could think of was the essential oils. And the essential oil that I would recommend would be the radiata, purely because it's one of the most gentle of the eucalyptus essential oils. It is steam distilled, so it is very gentle, especially for children. So you can use it. What I normally do is I normally put a few drops in a bowl of water, and I put it in my shower, so that while I'm having a shower, the steam is actually, helping me, give me some clarity and vitality. And it's interesting because they say that vitality is what everybody needs, and to have peace of mind. And how do we get peace of mind? Well, peace of mind is when we are completely in balance and in aligned with nature. So it is all linked. And what happens is, when you inhale the eucalyptus smell, it gives you this message to your brain. And what that does, it gives you a sense of vitality. So all of this is also so linked. So you can have that, first thing in the morning when you have your shower, to give you that vitality, to give you that clarity, to give you that centered energy that you need for your day. If you're going to do a yoga practice in the morning, or you're going to meditate for half an hour, whatever it is, you have that right there as you start your day. And then during the course of the day, you could have an oil burner or one of the electric diffusers going in your room, because it has amazing antibacterial properties, and it is actually also known to eliminate harmful surface and airborne bacteria. I personally also mixed the eucalyptus oil with lemon oil and the peppermint oil mixed with water, and I use to clean surfaces, because I try not to use chemicals, trying to have everything as natural as possible. So I use that as well within cleaning my home. And then just recently, I've had a bacteria, a fungus, a viral in my trees, my indoor plants. So I've been treating them with eucalyptus. Whenever the fungus arises, I take a cotton bud or a little bit of tissue, I dip it in the eucalyptus oil, and I wipe the leaf or the flower where it is actually trying to spread. It's almost like the virus spreads from leaf to leaf, from flower to flower. So every couple of days I go in and inspect my orchids, and I wipe this away. And in over a period of 2 weeks, I pretty much have solved the problem, and that had passed on through 3 of my orchids. So it's actually quite special. But so there is something that you can also enjoy from Paraiso Escondido and its collective. It's all around. Try and buy. You have in your country, you have a brand called Young and Living. I personally buy one from a health food shop, which it has various organic ranges of their radiata essential oil. But yeah, give that a go. And inhale it every now and again, every time you need to cleanse yourself of lifting, as the Aborigines believe, lifting of that negative energy that you're feeling, that you're carrying almost like the world on your shoulders, especially with everything that is around us at the moment that feels so negative and fear-based. We need a little bit of positivity. But then moving on from the beautiful eucalyptus trees, which are majority of the trees on our property, moving on to the cork trees. And now some of you will be traveling to Portugal in the near future. And I thought that the cork trees would be a good representative because in the Alentejo landscape, the cork trees actually resemble our landscape. And for me, I was born in Africa. And when I squint my eyes and I look at the Alentejo landscape, for me, it actually takes me back to Africa. So I have a warm and connection to the cork trees, but also because the cork trees are incredibly green. You don't actually cut the cork tree in order to benefit from all the various properties. It's completely, everything that is a byproduct of cork is completely renewable and recyclable. Our yoga studio was built out of second-hand office containers, and on the outside I cladded it all with cork, which is great for insulation, thermal properties, as well as for fire resistant. So cork, you will know cork from wine, but there are so many different things that the industry is making from cork products. And 60% of all the cork harvested actually comes from Portugal. And cork trees are protected in Portugal. You're not allowed to cut the tree down. You don't need to cut the tree down because basically in order to benefit, you strip the bark of the tree. And what happens is when you strip the bark of the tree is actually even stronger. And what it does is it stores carbon oxide and releases oxygen. So it creates a fantastic biodiversity to the forest where the cork trees are planted. So basically, I don't know if you know this, but before you can actually start stripping the tree, it takes at least from a young tree to an adult tree, it takes 25 years before you can actually start stripping the bark. And it's the only tree that actually, once you strip the bark, it actually regenerates. It actually has fantastic properties once you strip it. And you can only do this every 9 to 12 years. So it is quite a slow process, and it is extremely sustainable because you're not actually damaging these beautiful trees. So we have a few of these trees on our property, but as you're driving through along the Alentejo region, you'll see these beautiful trees covering the landscape. So there is something also very magical and beautiful about the trees that grow. And then the last tree that I wanted to cover, and this I thought would also be benefit for both of us, because this is called the arbutus. The botanical term is the arbutus bush tree, and it is also known as a strawberry bush because the berries that grow on these trees resemble the strawberry. The flavor, of course, not. And they're also called the madroño tree. What I thought the reason for choosing this one, for various reasons. One, it's because it's actually the logo of Paraiso Escondido. And I love these particularly because they constantly forever green. The bush is always green, and it is flowering as well as producing fruit. So it's constantly in transformation. And also the reason why I chose this particular tree is because it not only grows in Portugal, but it grows in your country, it grows in America as a tree. And the native Indians call this particular tree the tree of knowledge. And the tree of knowledge because it is extremely resilient and it can survive very harsh conditions. In fact, they believe that if the Madroño tree dies, everything else around the forest where this tree is growing will actually die because it's so resilient. But why they call it the tree of knowledge? It's because that, like all living things, we need light in order to survive and grow and prosper. So when in the forest where the Madroño trees are growing, if they're not getting enough light, a particular branch that is not getting the light will die, and another one will grow in the direction of the sunlight. So I thought that was incredibly beautiful, and I've seen how awkward and interesting the tree is and the bush, and it grows in very unusual shapes. And the other benefits that I thought is from a medical and medicinal perspective, I love herbal teas. And I use a lot of different herbs from my garden, but specifically was fascinated with the fact that these Madroño trees, not only they are extremely resilient and beautiful, and they have the berries, but they actually have amazing properties. Now the berry has higher antioxidant properties than, you know, blueberries and raspberries, but also if you use it to infuse like a tea, it has also anti-inflammatory. It's great for the for bladder problems. So if you drink it, if you have early signs of cystitis or even diarrhea. So I thought, wow, this is just incredible how I have both the Madroño tree, the eucalyptus tree, and the beautiful cork trees all growing on my property, that I can actually benefit from it without damaging the tree, and I can actually use all these properties for various reasons. Now the Madroño also not only the antioxidants from the leaves and the berries, but it also the bark is also quite special. It has almost like a snake-like texture to the bark, and this is the same whether it's in Europe or in America. It's exactly the same. We have the bush version. In America, you have the tree version, but the tree and the leaves and the berries are the same. So maybe it's something that you could investigate and see where they're growing near you. And if you could get a hold of, in our country, the fruit becomes ripe from October to November. That's when we pick the fruit. But the leaves are evergreen, and we can pick the leaves any time of the year. So I'm not sure how they mature in the States, but it would be really interesting for you if you could find some, and maybe even give me some feedback of what you think about these magical trees and the tree of knowledge. So yeah.
Bernie, Elise is asking what the name of the resilient tree is that you were speaking of.
Sorry?
The resilient tree that you were speaking of, Elise is asking the name of it.
It's the Madroño, the arbutus bush tree. So it is the tree of knowledge, and it's extremely resilient. So basically, it doesn't need a lot of water. It doesn't need, in fact, the locals use the berries to make like a grappa version. So it's an alcoholic, very strong alcoholic drink. And it is, they make it artisanal. So it is a very long process. They pick the fruit, it gets distilled, and then the picking of the fruit, your fruit has to be picked very ripe, otherwise it will affect the whole batch of the end product. So what they try and do, because they sell this alcoholic drink at very high price, because the whole process is very hand processed, they try and plant these bushes in huge areas. And what I found out is that you can't actually plant them, because they pick their own location, they pick their spot, and they don't need a lot of water, they don't need any maintenance, but they are very particular in what they need. So it's their knowledge, they store this knowledge is very important to this bush. So keeping tap and watching when I look at them basically, and I see how they've grown, how awkward they've grown, and I've realized why they've grown so awkwardly is because on the one particular side, the left side or the right side, is not getting enough sunlight. So it's developed in a completely awkward shape towards the light. This is when it's grown within the forest. When it's outside the forest, then the bush goes all beautiful and all sort of balanced, not so awkward in shape.
Thank you, Bernie. That's so nice. So I think, are we ready to transition a little bit into your space, into the interior space?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So I thought it would be part of our topic of conversation today. I had called Home, Navigating Our Inner and Outer Space. And being in Portugal just this past November and meeting Bernie for the first time there and understanding how she's designed the space so beautifully and so intentionally. And I think that that's a good place for us to start with right here, is about how we intentionally design our spaces. And perhaps right now during quarantine is the most amount of time you've ever spent at home. Probably for most of us, we can agree with that. And maybe you haven't really thought about what your space is, your physical space, and how that impacts your inner space. Maybe you have, but for the next 25 or 30 minutes, I think we'll dive into that a little bit. So Bernie, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the thoughtful pieces that you have selected and why you have put certain things in certain places and how you feel that energy really helps to shift for you and for your guests?
So intentionally, I remember going back to when we opened the guest house and how we had everything quite eclectic, and one of the things that I love beautiful pieces. I'm attracted. My husband calls me a magpie because I'm drawn to beautiful shapes by color, but I like things with meaning, with a soul. So everything in our space that I put not only was selected aesthetically, but with meaning, with a soul. So a lot of pieces represent different places that we've been to during our travels. And this was because I wanted our guests to connect with our story, to connect with our journey. So when they come in, they can feel that they are part of this journey, and it works. But not only that, is color is really important. So in certain spaces, I picked a particular palette, and everything was around calmness. So that when people come from a busy outside, traveling and exhaustion, when they get here, I wanted them to feel calm. So everything was subtle colors, and also to read everything, taking the outside, bringing the outside in. So the colors that are outside, the light yellows and the light greens, and sort of the different, a hint of orange that you'll pick up from the madroño bush when it ripens in later in the year. So little hints which brings your eye and your attention just in the small details. But overall, you have the sense of openness, so that people can feel relaxed. They can feel that they are at a friend's house or someone that they know. They don't feel like they're in a hotel. So nothing is too equal and the same. It's different. It's eclectic. It's constantly moving. So when you move from one space to another, you feel a different energy. Different. If there's one is slightly lighter than the other, another space is slightly calmer and darker for a reading space. So the colors represent the outside and the calmness inside, and small little details represent our journey. So that there's always a story that guests can actually connect to and ask questions.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. So I thought maybe from there, you know, we'll have a chance for us to all talk a little bit and maybe have some questions about navigating our inner space. And Leslie, is there anything that you'd like to share about just how how what we're putting into our physical space, how that really impacts us internally, and how we're able to navigate maybe some of the chaos that kind of can happen inside our head if we don't have our physical space really in some sort of energetic order. Hold on, let me unmute you. Unmute. No, I can't hear you. Why can't I? Oh, there. Oh, wait. There you go. You're
okay,
on.
we were both doing it.
Sorry, we were.
It's okay. Yeah, I mean, could you imagine the care and the love and the thought that went into creating that beautiful space that Bernie just showed us, and through all the pictures, the colors, like how much time, you said 18 years, right? You've been sort of cultivating and developing that way of sort of like telling your story and creating this outer space. Could you imagine if we could put that much diligence and care and love and thought into our inner space? Imagine what we could cultivate over a space of 18 years of sort of decluttering our thoughts, choosing wisely what kinds of messages and information we want to have inside us. Like really developing the skill of creating a balance and creating the environment that we really truly want to live in. Like I could only imagine, like if we put that much love and thought into things like meditation, or even just using our yoga practice and being willing to even just like put the mirror up. So much of our attention is always on the outer space, right? So much of what we do every day is about like what clothes do we put on, and are we putting on the right hat for the right job, and how we appear in the outer world. And I think that if we really started to cultivate the skills of using our inner practices as putting up a mirror to give the same level of attention to the inner space, I feel like we would all be so much healthier. And so the truth is that we are like the microcosm of the macrocosm. And the truth really is that um, the reason that you seem so healthy and calm, your skin is so vibrant, it's like you care about your external space. And it's a reflection of our inner space. You know, we are sort of mirror images of ourselves. So if we look around, like look around at your space, look at the home that you live in, look at like the way you care and you treat your outer space, and then also know that that's sort of a way that you could get some perspective on how much care and time and energy you're putting to the inner space, right? And just know that there's this really beautiful relationship between the two. I think that's what you were trying to get at, Dawn, like that we need to be able to have enough attention to the inner and the outer space. And while we're stuck in the house, I don't think anyone has spent this much time in their home. Like just by show of hands, I want to go back to the gallery view so I could just see everybody. How many of you have done even one home project? Like, did you clean out one drawer? Did you, yeah, yay, yay, a little time and energy and care, right, for the space that we live in. I know I've been watching some friends on Instagram, like creating new projects. Like I know I've done a bunch of things in the house. Just even creating this sacred space for myself. Like I have my own studio, so when I practice, I usually go there, and I can go when it's closed, and I can use the space anytime I want, and that's like a sacred space for me. But I haven't had like a sacred space in my home, and I don't think I ever want to take it down. Like whether I stop doing the Zoom thing or not. Like I just love, like now my bedroom has become like my space. Like my husband almost needs permission to come in, you know. like it is like all my crystals are here, the lighting, I can play with the lighting in a lot of different ways. And my bed is made every single day, and I just sort of have created this environment that I want to live in, so that my inner and my outer recognize each other, you know?
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from anyone else. Like, yeah, so many hands went up. Like, what are you working on? Anybody want to share?
I think Sue's going for an unmute.
Okay.
Angela? Hold on, I have to unmute you. Just give it us 1 second.
I think Sue wanted to.
Okay, go ahead. I unmuted Angela, and I can
Okay.
Sue.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay with the mic?
Oh yeah, really well.
Okay, but now I can't hear you. That's the only weird thing. So I'll just say a couple little things, but you guys can hear me okay. All right, I don't even know where to put this mic right now. I'm just gonna leave it here. So first of all, this is so beautiful, and Dawn, thank you. And Bernie, you are beyond. I'm getting texts from my friends that are on this right now that are coming on my retreat in October, and they're freaking out at how amazing it is. And you are totally imbibing the space around you. You are like, you're so in harmony with nature, and it's so refreshing, because we have all lost a little bit of that, you know, when just in the busyness of life and being in front of technology all the time and having lists of things to do and the responsibilities, it's very hard to be able to live in that kind of isolated connection with nature all the time. So, you know, we're all drooling a little bit about that, but yet we feel it from you. And don't worry, we could smell the smells when you were asking us, and to connect to the land. And one thing I just want to say, Leslie, first of all, I adore you, and everything you said in class and the way we've all been, we're in such harmony. We're all wearing red. It was like so funny. I'm like, but I cannot wake up in the morning without making my bed. There is something that is so disturbing if I leave the room and everything is a mess and it's crumbled. And it's because what happens, what we look outside around us, it is a reflection of how, you know, it can irritate us without even knowing. Mm-hmm. I am a Virgo too, so my students always know when they come to class, if a mat's a little crooked, they're all going, oh, who's going to make a change? You know, so yesterday I walked around, we had a sunny day, and I walked around my property, and it was so sacred. In fact, I crossed a creek, I went into another neighborhood, and I was in a state of expansion for about an hour and a half. I actually got not lost, but I purposely kept going further than I ever went, into other neighborhoods and into other places to see the beauty in the spring, and came back into my property and picked this tiny little beautiful wildflower bouquet. And it brings so much joy to me to have brought that beauty that was just filling me for 2 hours and just sitting it on a table. And for what that does, we have no idea, just that one little touch can spark our heart in just magnificent ways, where we're nicer and kinder to the people around us. So I don't want to keep talking for now, but because I know you guys all have to share, but thank you both, thank you all. And I'm excited to, just the energy, we're going to be doing a lot of energy work this afternoon about 4 o'clock. And I love that you're talking about energy, Bernie, as well, about, you know, feeling, because I think that's our biggest resource right now, is to get more integrated and connected to that in a greater way. So I'm going to unplug my mic so I can let Dawn talk again and mute myself first. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sue. That's beautiful. So Sue will be starting this afternoon at 4 p.m. So she gave us a little glimpse into what she'll be doing. And then Heather, who is on who should be here as well, she'll be taking us through a yoga nidra, which is basically a deep relaxation. But before we get into what's coming next, I think Angela was looking to share something about some of the space, what you have done with your space, Angela.
I guess I've just uncluttered my office and organized paperwork and gotten rid of things I just don't need, and have pushed my husband to clean out the garage and get rid of things we don't need. And little projects around the house.
Yeah, so good.
It's perfect. It's all the difference. Yeah. Is there anybody else that would like to share something that they've either done recently or maybe something that they've been doing for a really long time that helps them feel connected a little bit more deeply? I think we've got Suzanne.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, I'm working on just preserving a bit of the past and scanning all the photographs that I have of the kids that are sitting in boxes and so disorganized that I've never really had time for. So we bought a scanner and we're working on that project and really kind of preserving our legacy. We're expecting a grandbaby in September, and I want to make sure that we're preserving the past and the future. So for future family generations.
That's a really
beautiful.
project. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
It takes you right down memory lane, right? Anytime I even just look at photos and they're not from, I mean, these photos, it sounds like you're looking for many, many years ago. I just look at my son who is 5 when he was a baby, and and it's really special.
I'd like to add something, if it's okay.
Yeah.
It's Lori. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yeah.
There was a couple of things that I've noticed since we've been home. First, I had to bring work home and make a space for it. And the second thing is, for the first time in a very long time, I was able to start and actually finish projects, little and small, where a lot of times we start a project and then we run out of time and we have to do something else and then we don't get back to it. And the third thing that I've noticed is we're not being bombarded with a lot of other energy because we're home. We're having, for the first time for many of us, a chance to be with our own energy and not being subjected to other people's energy. And so I feel we're cleaner. I'm losing weight instead of gaining weight, which is interesting, almost organically. And I mean, I'm exercising and that type of thing, but I feel it's because we're not being bombarded with all this other energy. So I just want to add that to the conversation.
That's
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Actually, we all got to make sure we don't put the news on too much.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let our homes be sacred.
Anyone else?
You know, it doesn't have to be like a house cleaning project. Like, even have you do dedicated or carved out time for meditation where you maybe haven't done that in the past. Like, maybe you create a new ritual for yourself that no matter how this unfolds and we move forward, maybe you'll be able to continue that, you know? And if you haven't yet, maybe it's something to consider, you know?
Hi.
Hi, Carmel.
Hi, how are you? I would love to share something that I was watching the news the first couple of weeks, and I don't watch the news anymore, but what this has really taught me is I'm in recovery. I've been sober for like 22 years. So I stopped going to meetings about 5 years ago because I didn't need them. Well, thought I didn't need them. And I just really poured myself into charity work and helping others and going to church. Well, I'll tell you, I went down that rabbit hole. So it taught me to go back to meetings, and I'm doing it online. And so what would have thought that this came to us where I had to be inside, where I have 150 meetings to go to on the outside, that I was like, oh, I don't have to go anymore. Well, yeah, you do, to myself. And it's made me, no, I haven't cleaned my drawers out and like I haven't done anything really around my house. What I started doing is hitting a meeting on my computer every morning, no judgment. It's not like leaving a meeting and go, oh, can't stand what that person was saying, or yeah, I was there, and then afterwards actually writing what I'm grateful for. So no, I don't like what we're going through, but some positive definitely has come out of it. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I'll just add a few things. I'm Heather. And, with 2 teenagers in the home, I think it's just really important. And the previous person, I can't remember your name, who shared about going to meetings, it's just super good to honor all the emotions that happen through this time. We have multiple people in the home, so it's not like I can really have a space. You can create that space, but you need to be able to respect other people's spaces and where they're at and let the emotions flow, because we have the highs and lows of not interacting with our normal groups as my girls do. They're 17 and 15. And so it's been interesting. It's been a balance of really being productive and doing some different things and spending more time together, but also honoring people's spaces in your home. You create your home in your space, but everybody needs their alone time or their own unique space to be able to express everything that's happening. It's not all happy and joyful. It can be kind of down sometimes, or uncertain, and just allowing that to flow through, like we've been talking about, those feelings flowing through. So just, each home is so different in the dynamics that you have. If you have small children, if you have teenagers, if everybody's working from home. So it is a very interesting time of change, and what can we bring from that? And I know this afternoon session we'll be able to dive in a little deeper with all of that and bring in some really cool intentions to take forward, through our retreats and all this time of transition.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. So is there anything else that anybody else would like to add to this conversation? I know that there are some new faces that may have joined us today. And yesterday we had a moment just to get to know who was there. So maybe if you weren't here yesterday, if you can just unmute your microphone and introduce yourself. You don't have to say anything major, but just let us know maybe who you are and where you're from, and how you are connected with this virtual retreat. It would be nice to hear from you. There's Kristen down on the bottom.
Hi.
We can hear you.
Hi, Kristen. Nice to meet you guys. I've been getting Leslie's emails for a little while because I signed up for them. But she's always been such an inspiration for me because I used to go to, I'm gonna cry. I used to always go to her Saturday morning classes. They were so important for me for so long. And so I never had a chance to really thank her in person. And I emailed that to her like, I don't know, a month or so ago.
Yeah.
So now I get to tell you thank you.
You are so welcome.
On Saturday mornings and making my weekend and helping me through so many like really rough times. So I just, that's Kristen. Nice to meet you guys.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I've been doing yoga for years now, and it's been like my medicine, and it's my life. I love it, and I love your style of teaching. You're just so motivational, and this was a great class today. So thank you.
You're so welcome. All the classes from the park are on YouTube, so you can take them anytime, even if you can't come to the park.
Yeah, I have a toddler at home, so it's hard for me to make them every Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kristen, I've brought my son to her classes in the park. I mean, a toddler is probably
really?
a little bit more all over the place. I don't know how old is your child?
He's almost 2.
Okay, so he's a little all over the place. I don't know how that. In another
year,
year,
it's hard to say.
In another year, it'll probably make more sense, and you could definitely bring him. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, in the future for sure.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are just getting to know Leslie today, she teaches when we're out of quarantine, she teaches a very large class in the park in Boca Raton for Saturday. And now that's online. She also teaches, I think it's the largest free yoga class on New Year's Day. What do you have, about 2,000 people there?
I think there were about 2,500 this year in one class. It was super magical.
Amazing.
Yeah, the energy of that is just palpable,
Yeah.
Yeah, we need each other. And Zoom helps, I think,
Is there anyone new today that might like to just say hello? There's Lori there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've spoken a bunch, Lori. It's nice to see you.
Oh, same here. Nice to meet you. I'm going to be attending the Portugal trip in October. Had signed up originally for May. I'm friends with Michelle. She invited me.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you.
She had invited me. We've been friends for over 45 years. We were little girls together.
Oh.
And so this has been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to meet Bernie and to see the space. So disappointed we couldn't go in the end of May, but we're excited for October. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to like see your face and put that name and face together. I'm so glad that you opened up to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much. This has been wonderful all around.
Great.
Hi.
Hi, Suzanne.
I talked before, but I'm Suzanne, and I'm a member of DIG with Sue, and she's been my teacher for over 10 years, I think now, and also a really dear friend. She'll give an inspirational class this afternoon, I'm sure. So please tune in for her. But thanks. This has been great. And Portugal, we're planning on October, right, Sue? So
Fabulous. Thank you.
It's gone by then. So thank you. Nice meeting everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Suzanne, nice to meet you.
Courtney? Do you want me to unmute you?
I could do it too. Okay, you got it, Leslie?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Courtney Hamilton. I was with you all yesterday, but I had to leave, and I believe my mother introduced me. So I just wanted to introduce myself. My mother was Pamela Norris,
Pam.
doing the astrology. Anyhow, I'm in DC, Northern Virginia, and really was so grateful that she shared this with me, with you and Dawn and Leslie doing this. I am a professional organizer, constantly working on everybody else's spaces, decluttering, setting up projects, helping them maintain, helping them find their clarity, their space internally, externally. So having not done this now for 4 weeks, I'm returning to my space here at home and finding different ways to sort of honor that for myself, what I've been giving to everybody else. And this weekend has been really nice for me to do that. And just want to thank you. I have just so much gratitude to be quiet with everybody this weekend. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We just got a message from iPad. It's behind my camera, iPad 8, that they're excited that they'll be with Sue. Also, we don't have a name there or a microphone, but welcome. And we're happy that you're with us now, and I know you'll enjoy October with Sue in Portugal. Do we know who iPad 8 is?
I just asked her name privately, but I haven't seen that back yet.
Okay.
Mysterious.
Yeah.
If she tunes in, I'll let you all know. Oh, Colleen, that's Colleen. Yes, we emailed before, Colleen.
Okay.
And Heather will also be hosting a retreat in Portugal next April. Anyone else that wasn't here yesterday, or anyone else who was here yesterday? Oh, it was Ruth. Yes, Ruth.
Here, just in the morning yesterday, but we had a plumbing emergency, so I had to deal with that in the afternoon. So I'm Ruth, and I am blessed to be Leslie's student and to be part of her studio, and to be also part of the Something Big that happens on New Year's morning, which is really the highlight of my whole year. Planning that and then being a part of that there's really no way to describe how being part of that is affecting my life, and I've got my family involved with that, and I have no space here in my home to practice without my husband walking by and this guy sharing my mat, which he's okay. I do have a meditation space
space in my home, but it's not big enough to practice. So I've been really working on pratyahara during this whole situation, and I've practiced every day since I have been in my home on March 12th, which was the last day I taught, and March 12th. And the one day I didn't practice, I had a really horrible day. It was quite not good. So I practice at least once or twice a day. I'm trying to teach to a group that really needs some yoga. I'm just, donating my time to them. And it's interesting not having my own space. So I've been listening to you guys with how your space, but I'm developing my space within myself.
Brilliant.
So if my husband walks by and he starts talking to me or whatever, I'm trying to just, okay, see you later, honey.
That's amazing, Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth.
The things that she gets involved in, I feel like they kind of save me. So thank you.
Always, there's no words.
No words.
The love is too big.
Never been between us, ever. Never.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up right about 1:30 right now. Is there anything else anybody else wants to contribute before we wrap it up for the morning?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank Leslie so much because she shared 2 mornings with us and so much love and inspiration. Leslie was the first person I called when this idea and concept came through, and I'm just so grateful to have you. Thank you.
It was fun kind of bouncing around the ideas and the creative process. It got me excited. Like, okay, we don't just have to sit around and do nothing. We can use our passions and we can be creative and we can still bring our love to everyone. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of it.
Thank you. And I think what's so cool is that you are all coming to us from so many different places, similar to when we have a real retreat. And in this case, today, we have 3 amazing retreat leaders who are all here with us, who are sharing today, Leslie, Heather, and Sue. And you all have people that have come to see you. And it's something similar that we can create in the real life, in real retreats, but sometimes we don't all have the time and the space or the resources or whatever it is that stops us from gathering in a group like this in real life. So if we can create just a bit of this virtually, especially now and hopefully even into the future occasionally, I think it's a beautiful safe space for everyone. So thank you all for being here. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group, you can connect there when we are not in Zoom so that we can continue. If you have questions about something or if something comes up later on, we could still hold that space for you there. So I think you want to say, Lori, who's my mom, do you want to say something? You were waving?
Thank you to Dawn. You did a wonderful job. I know this was a lot of work for you. And thank you to Leslie and Bernie. I really enjoyed today's session. The yoga was wonderful. It started out nice and slow like I like. Getting a little bit more tired toward the end.
That's okay.
Working out a little bit more, but it was great. Really enjoyed that very much. And I also enjoyed Bernie speaking about the trees and the environment, and everything was just beautiful. Great job, everybody that contributed.
Thank you. Well, we'll be back here at 4 o'clock, starting with Sue, and then we'll get right into some real sleepy relaxation with Heather. So we won't be sitting in a chair or sitting the way that we are now, at least that we have been for the last hour and a half. So we will be moving or laying. So that's
even my dog enjoyed it. Papa coming back and sitting with me and enjoying it. And last night he fell asleep on my lap with the sound bowls.
Mm-hmm.
He's been watching. Everybody.
They love it.
Yeah. So he's been looking like
so much
The big screen, somebody speaking, and he's watching. Pretty interesting.
Does anybody else have any other feedback about the sound bowls last night that was there?
It was very relaxing.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Relaxing,
because
yes.
we purposely kind of chose just to close that space without coming back together to talk, because you're usually like a noodle and sleeping and who knows. But so okay.
Hopefully we'll be like that with Heather too. We're gonna get that nidra.
Yeah, we
Right.
would have to do the same thing after.
Right. We'll just like close it out gracefully.
All right.
Dawn, the weather you had when we started is now in
Oh,
my doorstep.
I
Yeah.
figured that would happen.
Yeah.
It's calm here now.
Stopped raining. I think it stopped.
Sue, hold on, let me unmute you.
Back at 4.
Are you doing it? 4 o'clock. She's saying back at 4. Sign language. Oh, there she goes.
I can talk, but it's very echoey in my studio. Yeah. I don't mic up, but I'll see you guys at 4 o'clock. And yeah, just I make sure that you don't have so much food in your belly at 4, yeah. But you know, you can go eat right now.
Yeah.
Get some nourishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Good afternoon. Bye, Bernie.
Bye.
See you
Bye,
soon.
Bernie. Thank you.
Later.
Bye. Bye, Carmel, Ruth, Elise.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So many happy faces. Oh,
I know.
She was
it's so nice.